Yep.
I bet. Welcome back to another episode of We Still Don't Know Yet.
That's a good name.
Yeah, thank you. You already know we're here, Chivo with my boy Chino,
Yes, sir.
and today we are here with Lorena and Ken Pujols, and this is what I would call a super couple, and I hope to start a series on our podcast titled Super Couples. And you guys are the first, so thank you for coming on here.
Yes, again. Well, thank you so much for having us, and we are an open book for you guys.
Nice.
Thank you
So yeah, but the reason I call them super couples is because I was explaining to you guys this earlier. But to us, to people like me and Chino's age, on social media, it's always portrayed like a celebrity is a super couple. But they break up, they cheat on each other. There's no real benefits. Right here, we have 20 years of marriage. We have, two successfully raised kids, a realtor, an insurance agent. If that makes sense to you, why that's genius, and then you're onto something. Like, it just goes hand in hand. And I feel like more of us should be trying to spend some time, studying examples like this to, that's really going to get us further than studying celebrities on Instagram. But yeah, before we start, your episode reminder to drink chlorophyll. But yeah, tell us a little bit about yourselves. Who is Ken and Lorena?
Well, I can start giving you a little story of myself. I originated from the Dominican Republic. Like most people, migrate to this country looking for better life, and I didn't have a choice. My parents actually brought me with them back in 1991. When I migrated to New Jersey, and I lived in Jersey for about 13, 14 years of my life. I went to school there. I grew up in the really rough part of the state, crime, violence, drugs. Fortunately, I got involved with the right crowd, and my school is, like in most of poor neighborhoods, and sadly to say, Latino community also. The school, they have a lot of these drugs-related gangs and things and so forth. And I was blessed that I got involved with the right crowd. Went to school. I got it. Just went blank. Just lost my thought of my train of thought there for a minute. Yeah, I just went to school. I went for a aircraft mechanics technician. I went to school for that. I did that for 2-3 months with American Eagle. So I didn't like it. Quit. And then I met my beautiful wife at work. She came from visiting as a visitor, as a tourist visitor, and we met at work. And
where were you working at?
At that time, we were working in
a warehouse.
In a warehouse.
Natural products.
Natural products.
Nice.
Distributing products for big supermarkets, and it was love at first sight. We started dating almost instantly. Well, actually, no, I'll take that back. It took me about 3 months before I could say anything because I was intimidated.
Shy.
Yeah, he did his thing.
That's the word.
Yeah.
And the business.
Yeah. So, yeah, 3 months after we started dating, it's going to sound crazy, but I did propose to her. And what is even crazier, she said
3
yes.
months after you
3
started.
months.
How old were you?
At that time, I was.
We were 23 when we started dating.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, damn.
The man knew what he wanted.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the craziest thing is, she said yes. Like that was even crazy.
Right.
Wow.
But it turned out to be well. We came. Even though we came from different cultures, similar because we are Latinos, right? But the culture in Ecuador and Dominican Republic a little bit different.
Yes.
And at first, like usually, it was a little bit of a crash, trying to get used to each other. But we learned how to communicate with each other, and yeah.
That's beautiful.
Like that.
That's beautiful.
What about you,
Is it my
Lorena?
turn now?
Yeah. Where do you come from?
So I am from Ecuador. And like he said, I came to this country when I was 23. My plan was just to work for 6 months and then go back just in time for summer over there and have money to party and go to the beach and have a good time. But I had other plans. I met him, and like he said, we started dating and going out. And 3 months later, he said, "Do you want to marry me?" And I was like, "I'm just here for 6 months." But I ended up saying yes, of course, because I really like him. And yes, my mom was not a fan of that idea. And so, but we have made our decision. And a year later, we married. And here we are 20 years later.
Yo.
Were y'all already say did you already have your careers or steps in your careers when y'all?
So I did graduate in Ecuador. I'm a vet back home, but here I realized that that doesn't mean anything to have your diploma. Here in the United States, you have to kind of like start all over again.
Yeah.
I was like, I already did 5 years of college, and I didn't speak any English when I came to the U.S. So that meant that I needed to go to college to study English, to learn the language, 2 years plus other 3 to 4 years to be a vet here in the U.S. And I was like, yeah, that's not for me. So I started pursuing other careers, something that it would be a little bit faster. Because at the beginning, like he said, we met at a warehouse, but I never liked it in reality. For me, that was always temporary. And so I needed to look for something else.
Smart.
The opportunities are out there. We just need to look out for them. And I am very thankful that I met her because we have pushed each other big time. I have pushed her to, one of the things that I pushed her to was to learn English.
Yes.
And she pushed me to improve my career in life. So we've been very supportive to each other.
The reason I ask because so that means like when y'all got together, y'all basically didn't have the careers y'all got now, and like
Right.
y'all helped each other get to this point basically.
Right.
Well, right now we are not exercising any of the careers that we went to school for. Not at all. I mean, she's a professional veterinarian. She did financing for many, many years.
I was in banking
and
for
now
15
she's
years.
doing real estate, and I've been doing insurance for most of my life, actually. So that's what I've been doing for a while.
So how do you guys get from getting married in, I guess, a year and 3 months of knowing each other to 20 years of successful marriage? Like, how does that happen?
So I think that I guess that the older couples, 20, 30, 40, 50 years of marriage, they will always say the same thing. Communication, right? It's very important. You hear it everywhere. But I think that it's also important to explain or how communication actually works in every marriage. So you can think of communication in one way, but for me it's in a different way. Communication for you could be having a conversation, but for you maybe is by text messages or writing a letter to your wife. That's your better way of communication. So for me, it's kind of like trying to understand how each other communicate better so we can actually reach the other side. Or so actually we know that my message, it's understood the way that we want.
Right.
So for us, it's funny because sometimes we laugh at each other when we are we have a project for example, at home, and I explain it to him, and in his head, it's totally different. And we have learned that when he's totally lost, and I'm like, but it's so simple. You just need to do this, this, and that. And he's like, but why wouldn't, I thought that you said this other way. And so until I draw it in a piece of paper what I want, he's like, oh my gosh, when you were telling me what you wanted, this is what I was imagining. And we see the drawing and it's like totally different. So it's that with everything. So you just need to learn how the other person receive the message so you can kind of like try to communicate that way. I don't know if I explain myself.
Like you gotta understand each other's love language, right?
Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And be patient with each other. We always say and remind each other that if I'm not perfect, how can I expect the other person to be perfect?
Yeah,
And
big
if
first.
I expect him to accept me the way he is with all my imperfections, so then I have to give the same to him.
First.
As a woman, what would you say was the hardest thing that you had to deal with in marriage in like those early years?
Ooh. I think that it comes back to the way that we were communicating. We wanted the same thing, which it was a happy marriage, but we were not communicating the way that our messages were not they were not being received the way that they should have. Until we actually sat down, because like he said at the beginning, it was rough. Especially that we didn't really
We couldn't
know.
see each other at the beginning, honestly.
Could you turn the mic around, please? Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
We couldn't see each other at the beginning.
What do you mean?
We couldn't stand each other at the beginning
The
because
Wow.
first 3 to 4 months.
Yeah. until
How did you get past that?
well, we sat down, we talked, we spoke about the whole situation, and my parents, they gave me the example. Hey, marriage is a big commitment. When you marry someone, you just saying, hey, I want to spend the rest of your life with you, right? But at the beginning, it was tough. I mean, it got to a point like in the building where we used to live, there was an elevator and escalators. I mean, steps. And she used to go up through the elevator, and you went up through using the stairs. It's like, ugh.
Wow.
But we sat down, and it's just a matter of learning your partner, because everybody communicates in a different way. Some people are visual, some people you just tell them what they want, and they get it. It just you need to learn your partner. You need to learn how
And be
he
patient.
communicates, she communicates.
Would you say it's like every day you might learn something new from each other? Like, do you feel like you
Every day.
you've stopped studying each other or learning each other?
It's funny because sometimes I want something or something is happening at home or at work, or I want something, and he's like just looking at me. He's like, I know what you want. This is how you feel, and this is kind of like, where do you want things to go? And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yes.
we are at the point now, like
Exactly. That we're just looking at each other.
When
We
she-
know that he's in a bad mood, or I'm in a bad mood, or he's tired, or I'm tired, or what have you. But that we still learn from each other. Yes, definitely. You will never stop learning, and that is what you need to be open to, right?
Right. I wanna highlight something you said, because you said your parents gave you the example, and that you said a marriage is a big commitment. That's a lifetime thing. And I just want to ask you, what is marriage to you guys? Because I feel like even you just saying that goes against what our generation thinks of marriage, because they look at marriage and they're like, I don't want to get married because I don't want to get divorced. And I'm like, you're thinking about the end already. Of course you're going to end up there. So what is your perspective on that?
Do you want me- I can start.
Yeah, please.
So for me, marriage is two individuals with each individual has their own ideas, their own way of doing things, their own way of thinking and seeing things, but we both have a common goal. So as long as you also respect each other's ideas and support each other's ideas, right, that is going to better the family, that is what marriage is. It's a team. And in a team, like, for example, in football, it's not I just want to get the ball and I want to be the star. It's like, what can I do for the other person to catch the ball, and for the other team not to tackle him or what have you. So that is what, for me, marriage is a team effort. It's not just one person. It's two people with different views and different goals and different plans, but at the same time we do have a plan, a goal in common.
Yeah, I mean, same thing that she said. The only thing that I would like to add there is it's I see it in a team of three people actually: my
Right.
wife, myself, and God. I always say if everyone in this world guide their lives and take the advice and the principles that we learn in the Bible, the whole world will be a total different place. And we try to come to a common ground based on what we have learned, and I mean it has come out pretty
That's
good.
beautiful.
How has that third strand help you guys?
A lot.
How would you say so? I really like. I'm interested in that.
To be tolerant,
Right.
to understand each other,
Patience.
communication, patience. And one thing that I learned a lot from the Bible is that there's a time to listen, there's a time to talk, and there's a time to act. So if we are into a heated argument, because it happens and it's
Right.
going to keep happening, you need to understand, hey, this is the right time to say something. Should I wait for her to calm down, or what's going to happen? What's the next move? Okay, because whenever you are into a heated argument, then you may say something that you will not be able to take it back. You already said it, and sometimes you say things and hurt the other person without even thinking, without even knowing
It wasn't
knowing
your
it.
intention.
And it was not the intention, but it's just at the moment. So me personally, I have learned to learn when to talk and wait, patience.
Jesus.
That's facts.
Yes, sir.
Hey yo, how long were you guys married before you had kids?
You want to answer that question?
Yeah, our first child, Nathan, he came about like year and a half, 2 years after
A
marriage.
year and a half.
Year and a half.
I got pregnant 9 months after.
After you guys got married?
Right.
So how did that change the dynamic? Because now it's 3, or was it?
2.
It was twins,
No.
No, 2 kids.
2 kids.
but I mean, it was just one at first, right?
Oh, yeah, right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it went from 2 to 3.
2, 3.
So how does the dynamic change from just marriage to now like a family structure?
It changed a lot. I mean, at first I didn't believe it. It was just, is this really happening? I mean, I'm gonna be a dad.
And we were young, of course.
were
We were like
young.
26.
But I was scared. I was excited. I didn't know what to do. I mean, what to expect. But we both were very excited. We were very happy to welcome that child to this world, in our family. And we grew stronger in our bond. Go ahead.
It's true what he says. It made us stronger. Now we knew that it was not just a couple, or a family of 2. Now we had somebody that depended on us, and now we needed to have a plan, a better plan, that it will give that baby everything that he needed. And so definitely made us stronger. And also I have to add, Nathan, that is our son, he was a very easy baby. so I think that helped as well.
How do you go about building a healthy family structure for your son?
Again, it goes back to the first thing that we said: communication. It's key. If you cannot communicate your message or your ideas or what you want, I mean, you could have a degree in engineering and anything, but if you're not focused, if you don't know what you want, if you cannot transmit your ideas, it's not going to work out. So I don't know if that answered your question, but communication is key to everything.
Yeah, I'm starting to see that. I mean, obviously it works. 20 years, 2 kids. How old are your kids?
Nathan is 19 and Bianca is 17. And even with them, open communication. I mean, you see us talking, the 4 of us, and it's like we are friends and they trust us. And sometimes I mean, I'm sure, because I was a teenager at one point as well, and so you don't tell everything to your parents, but sometimes they come to us with some things that I'm like, I wouldn't be having that conversation with my mom. And they are pretty open, and I'm like in shock inside, but then I'm like, oh yeah, cool, like playing in it cool. So they have that, they feel that have that communication with us, that they can say things that maybe not everybody will tell their parents, and but then they feel comfortable with us. Then I go panic with my husband, or he comes and panic with me. I was having this conversation with Bianca or with Nathan, and so we have a plan, and then we kind of like tackle whatever issues they have, or whatever they came to tell us, and kind of like guide them in the right direction. So I mean, it's not only communication between each other, it's also communication with them.
That's so important, man. Because the way you just explain or describe your relationship with your kids is just how me and my parents are. I'm blessed, because it's like, well, if, at first it wasn't like that, but they got to a point where they got open, like. Now it's just open dialogue, like there's kind of no doors, like we could talk about anything between each other. But I know certain, like you say, like maybe I'll tell my mom something that she's like, and then she'll later on tell my pops or something. But like it just reminds me exactly of how it is with my parents, and like I can just say that's a beautiful relationship to have with your parents, really.
And be able to accept that everybody in the family is an individual.
Yeah.
Is a different entity, and we are just living in the same roof, and obviously we have connections and love, and we love each other, but at the same time respecting each other, it's very important.
Respect.
Obviously, with also setting some boundaries to the kids, right? Because that's also important.
Would you say communication is how you guys got your kids to even be comfortable with talking to you guys, or how did you guys go about making your kids feel comfortable to even tell you these things?
Go ahead.
From day one, since they were babies, I used to read books to them from like for hours, and involve them into the conversation, and help them develop the communication skills that everybody needs in life, right? And as they grew older, the communication shifted to more conversations like, hey, what's going on in school? Because nowadays parents don't have those conversations with their kids,
Unfortunately. And it's not, I'm sure that it's not intentional, but unfortunately.
It's the society. I always say the society that we live in nowadays, if you are not careful enough, you can lose the whole family to this system. Parents, they are working 24/7 to provide for their kids, which it's okay. I mean, that's why we work, to provide for our family, right? But it gets to a point sometimes like people lose the real focus of, hey, I'm working for my family. I'm working because
not for the material things.
Material things, they come and go. But the memories that you create with your family, they stay there forever. Once you pass, once you are no longer in this world, they can remember you for the good memories that you left with them, The conversation I was having with William earlier today, like, people do work hard, so I want to have this, I want to have a Ferrari, I want to have a really nice house. Yeah, I mean, those things are nice, but it's not the most important thing. You want to build a strong bond with your wife, with your kids, and make sure that we have a happy family.
I like that.
Very good point. You guys giving us a lot to think about over here. Wow.
Yeah, I've kind of stuck on that. That was good.
Well, what do you guys do? I wanted to ask you, when your son was born, do you think that you guys were financially ready for him, or did that bring stress? How did you guys handle that?
I think that you will never be ready. Like, a family will never be, or a couple will never be ready to, or there's no a perfect time to have a baby. I have friends and I have family members where they have waited and waited and waited because they want to be ready financially, for example, or have a house and then have a child, or have a better job and then have a child, and things like that. But still, the baby will bring you a surprise, that is maybe something that you never had planned out, right? For us, definitely, I can tell you, we were not ready financially, but still, we were happy to have our family, and we made it. We made it happen. We worked harder. We organized our schedules to make sure that we will be with Nathan as much as we could. Yes, he was at a babysitter while we were working in the morning, but if he could work in the afternoon, he will take the afternoon shift, so he could stay in the morning with him or things like that. And obviously, weekends when we were not working, we dedicated quality time.
So y'all made it happen. Like y'all rearranged your schedules and everything. I did what y'all had to do to make sure y'all kid, like y'all were in your kids' lives.
Right.
That's important, man. 'Cause I know, not everybody does that. People just come to
Would you guys say
Get this straight.
you're financially stable right now, like, or financially satisfied?
I think that we
I can say that we are. We are in a much better position than what we were a few years back. So
How do you get there while growing a family?
it's a challenge, but working together as a team, we have been able to accomplish many of the things that we had original planned from day one. It's not easy. It's not easy. That sometimes I haven't seen my wife for a week when I have to go out for a training some other state. I don't think I have ever been away from home more than a week. And when
and in day two, by Tuesday, he's already ready. He's like, I don't want to go back.
yeah,
I don't want to
I'm
be
ready
here.
to go back to my family. But yeah, anything that you want to add, Negra?
Yes. How we made it happen, once again, we were not focusing on the material things. I've seen families that and hey, it's there's nothing wrong with it, right? It's just how it worked out for us. Is that maybe some families or some people, they change their cars every 2 years, so you will never stop having a car payment, right? And those car payments, sometimes I hear people, I'm in real estate, and sometimes I get to hear why they can qualify for this house and maybe not for this one that they would like, and it's because they have racked up in so much debt and things like that. And sometimes I think to myself, how do they sleep at night? It stresses me. It stresses me out. So I always tell him, hey, I am not looking for a Mercedes in my driveway. I just want a reliable car that it will not leave me on the highway with my kids, especially when they were little. So just one example, we stayed with one car for a couple of years, right? We could afford another one, yes, we could, but we knew that we would be a little stressed financially, so we made it happen.
Living under your means.
Right.
Yeah.
And then one car, we brought it brand new, yes. He can tell you, my cars, they have to be brand new. However,
Sound like my mom.
however, they last me 8 years, 6 years, 10 years. So,
It's an investment worth it.
right.
Would you say, Ken, do you believe in the saying "happy wife, happy life"?
100%. Don't put me in the spot here.
No,
Yes.
no. I just want to get your perspective, because I see again, like on social media, a lot of people telling, a man what he should be in a relationship, or this, that, and the third. But it's like a lot of those people aren't even in relationships, or the advice they're giving isn't really healthy advice. So what advice would you give to the young men out here?
Like you said, happy wife, happy life, and I always make sure that she's happy. When I see that she's happy, I'm happy, because that's my purpose in life. So want to make sure that I can provide for them all. And if they need something, and if I'm capable of giving it to them, hands down, no questions asked. But if it is something that is not within my reach, they do understand and say, hey, this is not the time, we need to wait a year, 2 more years. But that is something that we already know that we need, and then we plan accordingly so that we can reach to that goal.
Communication.
And we make a plan. Yes.
What about you? You have any advice for the young ladies out here?
Respect. I think that we women, and that's okay, and that is what I want to say is, like, we have our sense of independence, to be independent, and that's totally okay. Definitely, I don't think one time we tried for me to be a stay-home mom, and I was just pulling my hair out. It's not for me. I need to work. I need to make my own money, and if I want to buy something, I know that I can. However, at the same time, I will not go crazy and rack up my credit card without telling him, or I will not go buy new furniture just because I felt like it without telling him. So it's a balance, right? Yes, we can be independent if we want to. If we want to be stay-home moms, I respect that with all my heart because I know how hard it is to work at home. But be respectful of your husband's decisions. The husband is the head of the family for a reason. And so sometimes you guys, men, have a different way to approach things. You guys have a cooler head. We sometimes act on emotions, and that is our nature, right? And so understanding that the head of the family is there for a reason and respect their decisions, it's very important. Obviously, husband also will ask, like he does, what do you think? Right? It's not like he's also going to make a decision and your opinion doesn't count. No, he comes and say, hey, this is the situation, or I hear you, this is what you want, let's talk about it. And then based on of our capabilities, hey, we can do this right now, or like he said, we make a plan. And if, even though it doesn't matter as much as I want to do something, or I want something to happen right now, I understand when he says we need to weigh. And it's for these reasons, right?
Just to add to that, I think the dynamic of marriage has changed. Back in the days, our parents or our great-great-grandparents, the man used to say, this is what it is and this is what it goes. And the woman said, okay. Like they did not have a say or did not have a vote on the family decisions. Nowadays, I think younger couples, they are coming more together and coming to agreements together where the wife is capable of making decisions or giving, sharing their opinion. And I think that's healthy for a family because she's not just a submissive wife. She also has the ability to express her feelings, to work. Because if anything happens to me, I know, like if anything happens to me right now, I'll be okay because I know that she can handle life. And life out there, it's not easy.
Did you say she's capable of suppressing her feelings?
No. That she's capable of expressing her feelings and taking the bull by the horns. Like if I'm not here, she's able to work and support the family in the business. Yeah. So
that's interesting because, like, I honestly feel like the advice that you're giving to young ladies is good advice, but I also feel like in this generation, a lot of young ladies will get lost in what you said of like head of the family. Like once they hear that, they're like, oh no, I don't want to hear that, this, that, and the third. But it's like, I mean, it's 20 years of marriage. Yeah. Like, and my parents have been married, I think, like 25, 26 years, and I know my mom would probably say the same thing. Like, and yeah, but that's really interesting.
Yeah, I had said earlier that God was the third. What word did I use?
Strand.
Third strand. Is there any example, say, in the Bible that you know, or any phrase that like
la triple cuerda?
Huh?
La triple cuerda.
Triple cuerda.
That kind of that you can remember off the top of your head, or something that kind of is advice for marriage that's coming straight from like God.
One that comes to my mind is like when God founded the marriage. He said that you will leave your mom and your dad, and you will get together with your wife and become one flesh. And nobody mistreated their own flesh, right? So I take care of her like if it was my own flesh. And she does the same thing. When she says that she respects the decisions that I make in the house, which Sometimes, like if I make a decision, everything comes out perfect. Yay! Something goes wrong. Ooh, you know. But at the end of the day, whether if it is bad or I mean the outcome is good or bad, I mean it's a decision that we both made together.
Okay.
But that's Bible scripture that I can think of.
Right.
So
You got any?
Not right now, but I'll go back to that one.
All right.
I wanted to ask you, how do you balance, for example, the happy wife, happy life, but also how she was saying that sometimes she wants something now, but you're like, no, we have to wait. So how do you balance that? Like, when do you know to be like, we have to wait, or just to like give in, or just give her what she's asking for?
well, basically, we just sit down, we make a plan, and we make it work. We have projections of, hey, I think we can do this within 6 months, or we can do this within a year. It's just a matter of sitting down and talking about it, and set a roadmap to get to the point.
One thing I've heard y'all say a lot is the word plan. Like, I think that's really important. Having plans, have something to aim for. Yeah, I like
moving with the purpose.
Yeah, thanks.
And also, numbers don't lie, right? So, pretty much everything that we want, you have to buy, you have to pay for it, right? Nothing is free in life. So it could be something simple as, oh, I want, I don't know, a new furniture, a new coffee table. You got to pay for it, right? Or we need a new car. Like, for example, for our kids, we need another car. And we need to plan. So it's like, can we buy the coffee table that is something small and not that expensive? Yeah, we can buy it now, no problems. But to buy, for example, a car, it's not that cheap, right? So we need to plan. Once again,
What were you guys looking for when you got married, or when you saw her and you were like, okay, I want to make her my wife, or when he proposed and you said, you know what, yes, I want to be with this man for the rest of my life. What were you looking for? What are those qualities?
so that is a very interesting question. For me, I mean, I don't know. It was a connection from the beginning. It just happened. I always say, if my daughter comes to me and tells me I'm going to marry someone that I'm dating for 3 months, we will move to Japan. Because that marriage will not happen.
Well,
because I would be like, you are crazy. And my mom was a little bit like that. Thank God she wasn't that strong in that sense. But I don't know, when he always asked, at the beginning, he used to ask me that question, like, why did you marry me? Like, I proposed 3 months.
3 months.
That was crazy.
With ring and everything. And I just knew that it was him. I just felt it in my heart that it was him. And I'm so glad that it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously physical attraction, super important, right?
Right.
But just the way that when I started meeting her family, just the way that the family treated each other, the way that she respect her mother, and the things that she does for her mother. I mean, it's a way of saying, hey, this person is responsible enough, and she'll be a good person to have kids with.
I need all the young fellas listening right now. I need to run it back a couple of seconds and listen to what this man just said, man. Have respect for her mother, the way she treats her mother.
Yeah.
The way, like, that's real wife quality. What would you say are, like, some specific qualities to look for in a husband as a woman?
Caring. That he is not selfish. Romantic. He's very romantic. 20 years later, still he's romantic. It's all about the little things, and it all depends on what each person looks for. For me, it's peace of mind. And so knowing that he was always caring and he was taking care of me, and in the littlest thing, he will see that I'm cold, he will just look for a jacket. He will see that I'm like it's hot. Let me get you a bottle of water. I mean, the little things. And so when you pay attention that, okay, he cares about me.
Pay attention. Pay attention. Pay attention.
3 months. What were you thinking?
Hey, I don't regret it one bit.
I mean, it worked.
Yeah, it worked. It could have gone the other way too, but
Y'all made it work.
we made it work. We made it work.
That's,
Communication.
that's very
It goes
interesting.
back
'Cause
to that.
like he said, it could have gone the other way, and I feel like that's literally the difference between 20 years and being divorced. Like literally.
I mean, nowadays people don't have the sense of commitment, like you said. Nowadays, people don't want to get married because they say, "Hey, I'm going to be divorced in 3 months." They don't want that sense of commitment, which I think is wrong. I mean, you want to, if you make the commitment, you want to spend the rest of your life with the person and take care of her, like if you guys are one. But I don't know what to tell you. Nowadays, I hear in the news, the only people who want to get married for the wrong reasons. I mean, I'm going to reserve that thought. I was about to say something not very nice, but
For the wrong reasons.
for the wrong reasons, yes.
I was about to say something, I forgot.
What would be getting married for the wrong reasons? Like monetary
For
Money.
reasons?
Money.
Trying to
Papers.
get out of your house because you don't like your parents.
What the?
Yeah, I mean,
That is what I mean. I've heard a couple of
I've
like,
seen
I can't
them.
stand my parents. So,
get about it.
yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, no.
Mm.
My boy Winry in the cut. You got any questions, bro?
I guess the commitment aspect of it, like, are you saying as soon like when you made that decision to decide to marry her, you were already like in it, like for the long term?
Yeah.
Like that was your mindset.
I mean, that's what my parents taught me. So,
That's another thing too. Like, seeing that.
yeah. I mean, the values, the values that were taught in my house from day one. Hey, take care of your wife and your kids. My father, believe it or not, he don't talk much. If he sits down here with us, if he says hi for the entire visit, that's a lot. But one thing that I love about him is he teaches you by example. He doesn't talk or anything like that, but he teaches you by example, and that's what I learned from him.
For the ones that couldn't hear Henry, he was asking if the commitment when he got married, that it was already in Ken's head, and how if that's what he grew up seeing, and that was Ken's answer.
Yeah.
Interesting. Lorena, I wanted to ask you about your profession, because real estate for some reason just fascinates me. It's kind of like one of my hidden loves. I don't know, but I wanted to ask you, because this is a podcast about game, to help us, and if somebody does want to get into real estate or be a realtor or build wealth, like how do we do that? 'Cause I remember one time I think I posted on my story a video saying credit. Without credit, there's no wealth, and you had agreed with me. You were like, facts. And
Facts.
I want to get your perspective on that.
So, yeah, like you heard me saying at the beginning, I don't like that, right? It stresses me out, and but when you go into real estate, it's a different type of debt. You can lose money when you are in debt, like for example within credit cards. That doesn't benefit you anything. You just borrow money in advance, and now you're paying a high price for, I don't know, the pair of shoes that you wanted to buy for $100. Now you're paying almost $200. So you lost money right there. But with real estate, it's a good debt because you are buying a house that will always increase in value. If those pair of shoes that I mentioned before, you want to sell them, you're not going to sell them for $100. You're going to sell them for less because now they're used. But a house, a property, if you hold on to that property or to that house long enough, you will make money out of it. And the monthly payments that you made on the house, you will recoup that when you sell the home. So it's a good type of, there are two types of debts. Bad debt, which is make you lose money, and the good debt, which is going to make you money. And that is what real estate is. It's not just your home. Yes, obviously you're going to take care of it. You're going to love your home. But when the time comes and maybe that house is not, it doesn't function with your needs, or it doesn't match your needs anymore, you will always make money out of it. And when I said that it doesn't meet your needs anymore, is because maybe you need a bigger house or a smaller house or in a better location, in another school system. Once you are ready to sell the house, you will get money out of it. So you are building wealth that way, because now when you are buying the next house, you are not going to start from zero like when you bought your first house. You will be able to put a better type of down payment, and now you will have equity walking into that new house. Another way to build real estate, wealth in real estate, is by buying small homes and renting them. They get paid by themselves, and they grow in equity while you have them. So when you are ready to sell that portfolio that you have, or maybe living in it for your son or your family, it's there. So for me, real estate is the best way to build wealth. You don't have the money in hand, you don't have the cash in the bank, but your house or those homes
It's sitting there.
that are sitting there, the money's there.
I'm assuming you guys have invested in some real estate.
We have.
How has that gone for you guys?
Well, like I said, we made money out of it. And so now we put that big deposit into the house that we have right now, and now we have a better home that suits our needs right now, and our mortgage is very little. So we are comfortable there.
So did you guys just take like the route of like just like flipping each home you lived in, or do you guys do it like how you were saying, you like small units to rent out?
No, we were flipping the house that we lived on. However, that is in our plans. Like, I've been in real estate for about 3 years, and I didn't know much, or we didn't know much about real estate before then, unfortunately. And so what we know now, definitely it's in our plans, to buy land, to buy apartments. Airbnb is also in the loop, because that is all that makes you to have some kind of
It's in the
income.
plan.
It's in the plans. It's in the plans. That's the key word for today: communication and plans.
Sure.
And so, for example, one thing that we are doing with our kids, they are 17 and they're 19, and like we said, open communication. So they could be like silly things or simple things like they like for example, video games for my son. But then at the same time, we sit down with them and we talk about credit, how the credit card works, what to do, what not to do, and also real estate. So we are preparing, for example, Nathan, that he's 19, we are preparing him that at age of 21, he can buy his own home.
Nice.
Because we don't want them to go through what we went through, or that going through life without knowing what they can do to have a better financial situation like we did, because nobody guide us.
What does it take to guide a 21-year-old to buy a home?
It's pretty simple. It's not that complicated. The thing is, I think
It sounds complicated. People hear it and stress out.
Right. It's not that complicated. It's just that you don't know. And so when you don't know something, you are afraid to make a mistake. And buying a house is a big commitment. It's not, like I always tell some of my buyers, that they are looking for 6, 7, 8 homes, and they cannot make a decision, and they feel bad for me because I'm showing all these homes, and they don't want to put an offer. And so they tell me, I'm so sorry that we are wasting your time or making you drive and blah, blah. And I'm like, no, it's totally okay, because you need to have a connection with
That's
the home.
a good realtor. That's a good realtor.
No, because it's going to be your house. It's not going to be only your house. It's going to be your home. right? And so you need to like what you're buying. It's not like a pair of shoes that, oh, I thought that I liked these shoes when I was at the store. Now that I have them here at the house and I'm trying to match it with my outfit, they don't go that well. So what I'm going to do, simple, I just go back to the store and return it. Can you do that with a house? No. So you definitely need to make sure that you like what you're buying, because there's no way back with the house. So I always say you have to have some kind of connection with the house, and you're going to feel it. And we as realtors, if we pay attention, we're also going to see it in their faces, in the families when they walk into the house, when they're seeing it the first time. You see, oh, they like this one.
That's how it was. What boxes would you guys say that you're that you have taught your son to check before he's 21 and he's like, okay, I'm ready to buy this house?
For my son?
Yeah, like what does he have to have ready?
So, like, going back to the question that you asked me, how are we, what do we need to do, or for 21-year-old people, what to do? Number one, credit. I always say the bank doesn't know you, right? They don't know if you are a good person or a bad person, or if you're responsible or not. The only way to know that is by looking at your credit. And so you need to pay your credit cards or whatever that you have, your car payment on time, right? I would say 3 days before the due date. That when you get the bill, whatever day is there, you go and pay 3 days before. And that's number one. Take care of your credit. Create credit, because that is your reference to the bank. And they can say, okay, this person is responsible or is not. So that's one. Two, obviously, savings. You have to learn. Savings is very important. Once again, going back to us and the kids, whatever paycheck you have, they are used to now 20%. So what we are trying to put in the savings account. So what we are trying to do is that they get in that habit that automatically whatever their income is, small or big, they only count with 80% for the monthly expenses. 20 is for emergencies. And I always tell the kids, emergencies is not a new pair of shoes that everybody wants. Emergency is not the new video game that comes out. A true emergency is like you are in the hospital. That is a true emergency. And they're used to that. So savings will be number two. And then 3 is, I don't know, paying attention to what the market is doing. And so you know when the right time to buy is.
Credit, savings, and paying attention. What would you say for credit and savings? Like, what would be the credit score and how much would you need to have saved?
So credit score, the minimum for any bank out there is 640 FICO score.
640, okay.
So it's not that high that you need to be on your credit score to be able to buy. You can buy with less, but the interest rate is going to be a lot higher. So it is easier for you to work on your credit than having to pay a much higher interest rate.
And what about to save? How much cash would you need on hand?
So many people think that you need 20% to buy a house, and that is a lot of money, because if we're talking about a $200,000 home, that means that you need to have saved $40,000. That's a lot and very discouraging, right? So if you are 640 and more, you more than likely could qualify for a 3% down payment. So now we're talking 200,000, you will need only 6,000 versus 40.
So let's say you had the 640 credit score, you had the down payment, or you had the money saved. Where do you go to start the process?
Any bank. I will start with your own bank, because they already know you. They already see the savings. They see your what is happening with your checking account. You already have a relationship that you are building with them, and so it will be a little bit easier. So banks are more conservative, and that is a good thing, because that means that they will, if they lend you the money, it's because you are ready. If you go to other financial institutions that are more lenient, you may end up being in
What do you mean by other financial institutions?
brokers that are not banks. Brokers, they are more lenient. They are the ones that will take you, like for example, more conservative, 640 credit score. The bank will decline you if you have less than 640. Most banks, not all banks, because I cannot speak for every bank. Every bank is different, have their own guidelines, but most of them would be, if you have 640 or 620, they will not lend you money. They will decline you right there and there. But if you go to some brokers that are more lenient, they will take you with 620, 600, 580. But with the higher risk, since now you are a higher risk, now you are paying a lot more in interest.
I see. Because they're just trying to really make money, whereas the bank already got money, so they really, I guess, just trying to not lose at that point, because
Yeah,
the bank would lose, right?
More conservative with it.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Dang, you said 6,000, and what credit score you could get 200,000.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll say. Well, let me give you a different number. Just let's see if you give me a number. Say if you got like
Let's do the math.
you got your credit scores is 730, and you got 10,000. How much do you think you could potentially get to work
one
with?
of these numbers by record.
Yeah, you was giving me backwards.
What were the numbers?
What was the credit score? 730.
About 300,000.
300,000.
Credit score 730, 10 band down payment.
Yeah.
300,000.
3% down payment
2% down payment.
because you already have 10,000 saved. Is that what you said? You said 10,000 saved.
No, I'm saying like a
Yeah.
$10,000 down payment.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
3% of 300,000.
It's about if it's about a
Oh,
$300,000 home.
home.
Now this is only down payment, or
Yeah.
usually there are closing costs involved,
okay,
right? So
yeah.
that's not what the bank is asking you. That it will be attorneys, your appraisals, inspections on the homes, and things like that. So it's a mix of things.
How much do you think that ranges? Like that extra things that you just mentioned?
The closing costs.
Yeah.
It all depends. It all depends on the price of the house, and it all depends on where in the year are you buying, as well. And this is why, because taxes on the home are split between the seller and the buyer when you are closing. So, for example, let's say a house has $2,400 in taxes a year, and you are buying this house in July. So it is the middle of the year, $2,400 in taxes. The seller, which is the current owner of the home, have lived in the home, or it has been his home for the first half of the year. And the buyer that is buying the house in July is going to live in the home for the second half of the year. So what does the attorney does? He splits the taxes by the amount of days that each person have lived or will live in the house. So in this case, if you bought it July 1st, that means that you, that are the seller, let's say, you have lived from January 1st to June 30. So you are paying $1,200, which is half of the year. And you will pay from July to December 31st, the other half of the year. However, let's change the example. Same $2,400. If you are selling the house in March, and he's gonna, which is 3 months, and you are gonna live in the house for 9 months, so he's gonna end up paying more in taxes because it's gonna be his house for the majority of that year. So it all depends when are you buying the house. That is called prorations, and there is prorations for everything: taxes, homeowners associations. If the house is in a neighborhood with homeowners associations and things like that. So it all depends.
So, at what stage of the process do you go and contact a realtor? Like once the bank has already told you, okay, this is what we can give you, or before that?
It could be either or. I've been in both situations when I get a call and say, "Hey, I need to buy a house. Can you guide me?" And I'll go through. I'll explain the entire process. How much money do you need? The credit that banks more than likely are looking for. How much in your accounts do you have? Are you ready financially? And if they don't have a pre-qualification letter, which is what a loan officer, like you said, going to the bank, if they don't have it, that's not a problem. I think that every realtor has a team of professionals working with that realtor, and so you recommend, hey, I have these 2, 3, 4 banks that can help you. If you don't have anybody, I can definitely give you 2 or 3 of them, and you can whoever you feel more comfortable with. If they have already the pre-qualification letter, so hey, I don't mind at all. I'll work with your loan officer.
Interesting. Very interesting stuff, man. I learn something new every day.
One thing that I can tell you though, with real estate, you can never go wrong. If you invest in real estate, for sure you're gonna have a positive surplus of income within a year, 2 years, 3 years, 20 years, 30 years. I mean, there's no better place to have your money than invested in real estate. Money in the bank is losing money on a daily basis. Inflation, rates. I mean, that is the worst place that you can have your money.
Just one quick question. What is the market looking like right now in this very moment? Is it more in favor of the buyer or the seller?
So right now I want to say that is leveling up. Like it's starting to not benefit either or. Okay. The way that it was before COVID. So before COVID, it was the homes are stay on the market for a couple of weeks, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that there are not that many buyers out there because of the interest rate that right now have gone so high recently. So at the beginning of this year, we were around 3.25%, give and take, in January, and then by May we were already touching 5.5. So in less than half a year, it almost doubled. And so what that has done is that all the buyers that were out there that were able to buy a house at 3%, not everybody can buy at 5 or 5.5. So there, I always say, there's all the families that wanted to buy, they're still wanting to buy. It's just that now not all those families are able right now. So right now it's not as hot as it was before, that a house will go on the market on Friday, and that same Friday you will have 15, 20, 30 offers on the table. Right now you have 3 or 4, and it's not over the weekend. It will take a little longer.
Thank you. You guys have given us a lot to think about, a lot of free game. That's what we about here. If you could tell us one thing to the young people on anything in life, what would it be? What would be the words of guidance?
Don't give up. Keep moving. Keep swimming. Just keep swimming. I just want to say, I love the introduction that you gave us, a power couple.
Power couple.
But after 20 years, we do make mistakes. We learn from each other on a daily basis. We're not perfect. We make mistakes constantly on a daily basis. But we know that. We just tackle those imperfections and we plan accordingly. And we've been married for 20 years. I'm looking forward to be for another 100 years. And I know that we're going to come across difficulties, challenging times. And don't give up. Just keep swimming. If you have a goal that you want to reach, if you want to be a realtor, go for it. I always tell my wife the only challenging obstacle that sometimes we have is our own self.
Being afraid
They're
to-
scared, afraid of trying new things, and you will not know if you will succeed or not if you don't even try it. Try it. If you fail, you didn't lose. You learn something. I mean, failing it's a learning experience. But just keep swimming, keep moving forward. We have fallen so many times and really deep, and we just get up and keep going.
Yeah, this is the 7th episode that we've shot for this podcast, and I'm starting to see that it's a very reoccurring theme. And the people we have interviewed, the people that have gone through things, that have achieved things, it's just they don't stop. They keep going. And I see in your 20 years of marriage that planning and communication have been very key. Very key. What about you, Lorena? Any last words of advice?
I always say nothing is forever. And if you realize that even though sometimes we have problems and challenges that sometimes we think that is never going to end, and you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, if you keep remembering yourself that is not going to be forever, whatever the situation is, it's not going to be forever. You just have to stop and think and plan. I'm a big planner on everything that I do. It doesn't matter how small or big it is. But if you don't plan, you don't see how many steps.
She's scheduled vacations 2 years ahead of.
Hey, I bet they be lit though.
They are.
2 years in advance.
So if you don't plan ahead, if you don't see what you need to get out of that situation, whatever it is, then you will be okay. You got to plan and you got to think positive. Always being positive. I can't believe I forgot to say that from the beginning. You got to stay positive because the bad things will never stay there forever. But if you, once again, stop, what is the situation? And then think, how can I get out of it? And then put in action that plan, you will come out of there and you're going to be glad. When you look back, like he says, like Andrew says, fall forward. You learn from the situation, and that is going to make you stronger because next time you are going to know if something like that similar, even if it is similar, happens to you, you are going to come out of it quicker because you already have an experience.
Put the plan in action.
There we go.
Amen.
Plan, take action, and execute the plan.
Thank you. Thank you. And that is why they a power couple. I hope if you've seen to this piece right here, you can understand why I made that connection and why I hope to bring light to that. Got anything to add, bro?
No, I just want to thank y'all for being open and just sharing y'all experience in life, and just thank y'all for being open, really talking and not holding back. Like I learned something from y'all too as well. So I really appreciate y'all.
I honestly don't get the opportunity to talk to people like double my age like that. Like I talk to my parents here and there, but it's never a conversation like this. Like sit down for an hour, talk about something.
Yeah, one thing that I want to mention to you, give you guys some advice. Always stay away from negative people. They don't bring nothing good. Always
a negative person. Out of curiosity.
Always surround yourself with positive people. Negative people, always finding excuses for the problems.
It's too hard.
It's too hard. I can't do this. I wish there could be a better way.
How do you know that it's gonna work? How do you know that it is not gonna work?
Yeah, and there are way too many out there. Positive people. Surround yourself around positive people. People who have success. Those are the people that you need to be picking their brains. Hey, how do you do this? And believe it or not, they are more than happy to share than anybody else.
Yeah, thanks. A true successful person, I think. Really.
When you ask that person, hey, how do you do this? They spill the whole story how they started. Stay away from people with negative mindset. It's going to hold you back.
I'm I'm glad you said that, because honestly, when you said negative people, I wasn't even really thinking like that. I was thinking more like maybe obvious things, people doing things that could hurt you or, like put you in harm's way. But it's like, those are small little things in everyday life that probably a lot of people deal with.
Yeah.
It could be your mom, your best friend, your brother, like putting these doubts into your head.
Yeah, bro,
That's negativity for me.
Yeah. That.
Well, thank you. It's the 7th episode and we still don't know yet. It's the first out of the Super Couple series. If you watched this far, thank you. I hope y'all learned something. Remember that once the seed is planted, it's your job to grow it. Thank you again.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
And we'll wrap it up right here. Nos vemos.
That's actually perfect. That's actually perfect.